At this point in your writing careers, you are experimenting with adding in plenty of extra description to your sentences, and L2a Comma Use is intended to help you do so in a correct fashion. The target for L2a asks at its 3 level that you can correctly use commas with non-essential phrases and clauses, and we'll talk about what that means, but at its heart, that's really adding in extra description. At the 4 level, your usage is seamless and enhances meaning. So not only do you have it within your writing, but you're using it to good effect. There's a difference between simply throwing in new types of grammar and throwing them in so that they actually make your writing sound better. And what I'll be looking to see you do is use it effectively in that sense. At a 2 level, you are using it, but there might be a few errors. So sometimes you're correct with how you use your commas with the non-essential phrases, sometimes you're not. At the 1 level, you're trying, but you don't quite understand the concepts. So we'll try and get you past that and up into that seamless use. So what is a non-essential element when we're talking about writing? Non-essential elements might be elements that add extra information or description. As an example, over here, the teacher, an undercover cop, was very strict. An undercover cop is extra information to describe the teacher, who is the main subject of the sentence. It could also explain how or why the main action is happening. Okay, so not just the subject, but the events that are occurring. So reacting swiftly, the teacher told the student to leave the classroom, trying to save the other students from a scene. Reacting swiftly and trying to save the other students from a scene both describe how the action was occurring swiftly and why it was happening, because the teacher was trying to save the other students from a scene. The other thing to keep in mind for non-essential elements is that they can be removed from a sentence without changing meaning. So for example, if we look at those previous 2 sentences, we could just say the teacher was very strict. He told the student to leave the classroom. But we don't get the whys, we don't get the extra information about the teacher to help us envision how that might have gone down. So you can see that these non-essential elements really help us as writers paint a much stronger picture of what is occurring with our writing. Now, the key grammatical rule you'll want to keep in mind with non-essential elements is comma use. Non-essential elements must be glued into a sentence with a comma, sometimes 2, depending on where you place those non-essential elements. If we look again at the example from before, we can see that we have reacting swiftly to describe how the teacher went about instructing the student to leave. That is glued on with a comma. The teacher, as we learned, was an undercover cop, so there's our non-essential element, glued in with 2 commas because it's in the middle of the sentence. The teacher told the student to leave the classroom, and here we get the why he did that, comma to glue it on, trying to save the other students from a scene. So again, commas must be used to glue non-essential elements into a sentence. Now, there are plenty of different types of non-essential elements. We are only going to look at 3 of those types, and so long as you get the rule of comma use down, you'll be able to handle any of the other types that you encounter on such things as the SAT or any future writing that you might do. And a positive is the first type we'll talk about. And an appositive is a noun describing a noun. And a noun, of course, is a person, place, or thing. Okay. We've seen an example of this already when we had the teacher example, but here's another one. The student, a noun, a ninja in disguise, refused to leave the classroom. And notice we can add on to that second noun. Ninja is the main noun to describe student, but we can also say, for instance, he's in disguise, or we could say some other phrase to help build that image. Okay. The main sentence still remains the student refused to leave the classroom. The appositive is simply helping us get some further information about the subject in this case. A prepositional phrase is another type of non-essential element. And a prepositional phrase is a phrase which explains a relationship. And it could be spatial, as in terms of where things are in relation to one another. It could be in front of, behind, on top of, below. It could be temporal, when did things happen, before, after, during, and so forth. Or it could be logical, such as because. As an example, we've got a temporal one here. After the ninja revealed himself, comma, to glue it on, the teacher yelled in triumph. Present participle is the third type of non-essential element that we will be taking a look at. Present participles are very easy to identify. They are ing verbs that are used to describe. As an example, the teacher charged the ninja, comma, to glue it on, whipping out his taser as he went. So we've got our ing verb right there to help add some description of what was going on. Now here's a full example. Some of these sentences we've seen, some we have not. I'm going to go through and mark our non-essential elements from start to finish. So our first sentence, the teacher, comma, an undercover cop, comma, was very strict. We know already that we have an undercover cop here as our non-essential element. That is in a positive, cop, describing teacher, with an adjective to describe cop itself. Reacting swiftly, we've got an ing verb, present participle, glued on to the main sentence. The teacher told the student to leave the classroom, comma, to glue on another non-essential phrase, trying to save the other students from a scene. This is another ing, so we've got another present participle. The student, comma, a ninja in disguise, and we know that ninja is a noun describing student, therefore it's in a positive, refused to leave the classroom. After the ninja revealed himself, we've got a prepositional phrase here with after, telling us the timeline of this, comma, the teacher yelled in triumph. The teacher charged the ninja, whipping, so we have our ing verb, out his taser as he went, and then laughing maniacally, oh, there's another ing verb, present participle, comma, the ninja leapt to the ceiling, comma, that's going to be a clue that there's something else coming up here, which caused tiles to cascade over the frightened students, which becomes a logical connection here. And then because we have another prepositional phrase, much like which, it is a logical connection. Because of the dust cloud, comma, the cop was unable to see the ninja's next move. And then we'll close with another positive here. The ninja, a man-sized turtle, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, escaped once again. And you'll see here I used dashes to actually include this final appositive. We'll talk about that in L2b. It's another thing that you could use to create some emphasis in place of commas. But this is a full example with all three types included. Again, the key here, what's most important to take away, you must glue non-essential elements into a sentence with a comma or occasionally two commas.